When you start living together at some level, as a man, a young man, you've got friends, you want to go out, you want to meet friends, and sometimes men, we are not very good at controlling the times we can be able to come back home. So of course that was the first source of fights. I mean, I'd go, I'll leave the house sometimes and just say, sweetie, I'm meeting so and so, I'm just going to have a drink like 1-2 hours, and then before you know it, you've hopped from one place to the other, and when you're looking at time when you're coming back, it's 3 a.m. Of course, with time, you start feeling that you are no longer the free guy that you were. You could come back to your house anytime. You could easily spend at a friend's place or go to a party in Nakuru, and there are no questions. So with time, it takes time to start learning the color or the culture of being answerable to somebody and explaining yourself to somebody. So at first we fought a lot about, like especially my Fridays, and maybe sometimes I've traveled and I come back, and of course I wouldn't know she's expecting to spend a lot of time with me. But when you come back, the way boys are, that's when also your guys want to see you because you've been away.
We would fight a lot about his arrival, maybe at 3 in the morning, 4, because I'm thinking, seriously, we've just started staying together. Don't you just want to spend time with us, with me, just wanting to, I wanted him to be close by, but him, already we are staying together, so I kind of felt he didn't kind of break off from his friends like easily. It took a while for him to finally realize he has a woman in the house that he needs to also have in the picture. Like, it's Friday. He already is in the office at 6, 7. I'm thinking, what time are you leaving the office? I'm just doing a few more hours. Then in fact, I was supposed to meet so and so for a drink or two. Then I'll update you when. Then he just doesn't update, and I'm feeling so frustrated. I'm by myself, and I'm thinking, really, But now, I think when the babies came, I was busy also. So I think the fights kind of went down in terms of his arrival. Of course, I still feel he needs to, even now, just let me know. That's what I always advocate for. If you know you're going out, just tell me. I'll be late. That's really what I want. I don't want to just, I'm saying it's 9, it's 10, it's 11, it's 2, it's 12, it's 1 a.m., it's 2, and nobody's telling me anything.
I've always been one person who is poor at spending, and especially if I have cash. And that's a weakness that I recognize in myself. If I have cash and somebody comes for help, I would always give it out. And sometimes I would end up spending money on things that later I feel like, but really, So I've always considered her a very good planner. So what has helped our relationship is the fact that we manage our money, our finances together. And many times, even if the money available is very little, I would always rather she manages it. And that has really worked well for us. Of course, like she says, the only area we've never had problems, and like many couples, we've never had problems of in the house so and so handles this and so on. We don't have that kind of division. Of course, from my upbringing, I believe there are some things that are the responsibility of a man. Like paying for house rent, buying food in the house, paying school fees. I believe, unless there is a proper reason, it should be a man's job. But she's also always said, like, she can't just sit there and, let me handle this. So she's always, been very open with her finances. I've been very open with my finances. But of course, like she says, even when you have this money, sometimes, the way ladies think, especially about the house, and how the house is set up. And sometimes you hear there is this curtain, there's this new curtain, window curtain that needs to be bought, and it's 20,000. And you're like, do we really need it? We have 3 curtains in this house. Do we really need to spend that amount of money? Or worse still, even as a man, you're like, you mean we can't get something a quarter of that amount? Because curtains don't have to be very expensive. You know, so those so those kinds of things, sometimes they just make you feel like, "Ah, is it she's making these decisions just because there is some, money lying somewhere? Simple things like I think in my house, in our house, she's bought so many like floor carpets. We have so many that we don't use. Some of them we had to give friends. And you're like, because you're like, the day you're going to buy this carpet, it's the best. It's what she wants. And then you buy it together and then you bring it. Then 1 year down the line and she's like, well, we've had this carpet for too long. And in a man's world, you're like, it's a carpet.
Fine.
it's a carpet and I think it's fine. So of course those things, so sometimes disagreements of I don't think this is a priority, but we've always come back together and seen sense in it. And marriage also lets you understand that sometimes you have to give to let somebody win. To let somebody win, I mean, especially because my question has always been, I mean, if anybody was to listen to our disagreement and I'm disagreeing with her over a window curtain, if it's a man, they'll feel like I'm maybe very petty, so and I've always, I think what has guided me is, on that, and what has helped me sort out that is always there's a saying where I come from that the house belongs to the woman. We have a joint account which we use as our savings account, and of course each of us has, of course, there are different accounts. Like I have my my everyday account, my salary and everyday account.
We have faced a few relative interferences in our marriage. As much as over the years we have issues, they come, they go, just the usual ones. But there are times you feel, now this is too much, this is too much. If they probably feel there's a better wife for you out there, then fine. It's already too much as it is. So I would say in the 8 years, we experienced a number of relative interferences. Like we said, it's like when you get married to a Luo, you'll have relatives coming to stay with you. Maybe they have this extended thing that where they know you're staying in a big house. Therefore, somebody feels their child is is coming to college in Nairobi. Therefore, Otieno has a big house. I mean, let so and so come and stay with you. So with time you realize you're in a house and you have like 2 or 3, this is so and so of so and so, this is so and so of so and so. So with time you feel, as much as you're staying together, there are issues that will come up in a family.
Relatives will always remain one of the biggest challenge. And for our case, she's not just being very open. For our case, a lot of the relatives who brought problems have actually been my relatives. I mean, even just the fact that we got married when I was living with my siblings, and they are in teenage, and probably they look at her as somebody who is very young, who should not be, telling them what to do, as a mom would say. And there she is, she's coming in, and she wants my siblings to grow up in the best way. And remember, these siblings, I've stayed with some of them in the house, and they had all the freedom. Like when I'm away, they can do whatever they want. So a lot of tension of, this person, does he really mean well for us, or he's coming to interfere with our freedom. First, maybe the way we grew up in a house is we lived with so many relatives from time to time. And sort of I realized, without knowing, that was creeping into my life as well. Like she said, I mean, somebody who I would just be called in the morning and be told, so and so has gotten an admission to this college in Nairobi, and we don't have somewhere for him to stay. So he's actually coming. Would you go and pick him up at Machakos? I'll tell you things like, no, let him just stick with you for a few days as we organize where he's going to go. And then your relatives, and like they probably can't even afford taking him somewhere to stay, because getting the fees alone was as difficult as enough, and maybe we were some of the people who chipped in. So obviously you are stuck with this person, so it becomes difficult. Now you're here, you feel like this is something you should have consulted with even your wife, and by the time he's coming, even just in terms of not even agreeing, but just making the general arrangement of so and so will sleep in such and such a place. But you're like, this one, even you've been ambushed into this. But how do you, and at that particular time, even if you explain to your wife, at the back of your mind, you sort of feel like maybe she's not even buying the idea that I didn't know. You know, maybe she's not even buying that idea. So, of course, that one. But you see, it reached a time, and also there are some friends, you get very good friends along the way who also advise you how they've dealt with such problems. And I think one thing that became very apparent is I made it very clear. You know, like her, because they have a home in Nairobi, there wasn't much of her siblings or her relatives coming to stay with us because anybody who came from home would go to their house in Nairobi. So it was just about putting my foot down. And if there is one thing that I've learned to do, and it was very tough when I did it, but I've come to appreciate it, is just to make it known to my relatives that, look, that house is for me and my wife and my children. And anytime somebody wants to visit, you must tell us. I think the societies where we come from generally have a mental picture of your life. They know, and they always imagine that there's always something funny on Facebook of the difference between what you earn and what your relatives imagine you earn. You know, so you get requests from your extended family, and you're like, how much do these people think I make, even in a month? Because somebody wants to go for this specialized medical checkup, you know, in India, and they feel something like an air ticket is just something the way they know you, it's just something you'll come and give them at the end of the month. And you know, sometimes I'm like, sometimes maybe even in the house, I've called I've even called the university where I'm studying and told them, could you bear with me for this month? I'll pay my next installment next time. So the families have a mental picture. They maybe think about where you work. They maybe look at how you dress. They maybe look at the size of house you stay in. They maybe look at the fact that you have a car. And they always just feel if you don't give them any help, it's just because you don't want. And because you are one of their own, how could you not want to help them? It's your wife who is making you not help them. And I think this is a major thing. If men cannot join up these dots, then we'll still have a lot of marriages breaking because of relatives, and a lot of marriages break because of relatives. So I think that is an error. If you ask me, one of the things that really needs to be managed are actually relatives.